In 7 years of marriage, my wife's favorite thing to say to me has always been, "Get out of my house." She knew I had no one else in this city, that I was completely dependent on her. She calculated that no matter how wildly she behaved, I would never dare to ask for a divorce. But when I found her with her male assistant for the 8th time, she was as cold as ever, pointing to the door and saying, "It is what it looks like. If you can't handle it, you can get out of my house." As she finished speaking, rows of pop-up comments suddenly floated before my eyes. "Bro, don't listen to her. The main character is just mad you don't trust her. That's why she's saying this. Just tell her you're jealous, and she'll immediately get on her knees and explain everything." For the first time, I ignored the comments and just looked at Chloe, saying, "Fine." I turned, went back to our room, and started packing. The text in front of my eyes flickered more urgently. "Bro, don't be rash. The main character is just stubborn. She really cares about you a lot. If the main character just looks back at her now, she'll burst into tears." My hands paused over my suitcase. I was the one who had pursued Chloe. Back in college, she was our campus's real-life Cinderella. Beautiful, from a troubled home, #1 in her major for 3 years straight, and a national scholarship winner. Guys lined up for her, but her perpetually cold expression froze them all out. Only I persisted, tirelessly, for 3 years, until I finally won over the Ice Queen. Once we were together, I didn't care about her constant indifference. I believed that if I just loved her enough, one day that iceberg would melt for me. Later, when I found out her parents had a terrible relationship and had both cheated on each other when she was young, I looked at her with tears in my eyes and said, "No matter what, I will always be there for you. I will never push you away." That night, Chloe and I were intimate all night long, and these words, invisible to everyone else, started appearing after I proposed to her. They told me the reasons behind Chloe's mysterious anger. They taught me what to do when she was furious and telling me to leave. They said that an eternal ice queen like Chloe needed someone as warm as the sun, like me, to melt her heart. At first, I believed it was a gift from heaven. Then one day, Chloe came home smelling of another man, and the comments said, "She just wants to make you jealous, bro. It's just a little game women play." The first time she didn't answer my iMessages and then hung up my calls. They said, "Keep calling, bro. The main character loves seeing your name flash on her screen. She's secretly thrilled." Another time, at 2 in the morning, Chloe's phone was off. I searched everywhere she might be, soaking wet in the pouring rain. When I finally got home, I saw her assistant helping her out of a car, and the comments said, "What did the main character do wrong? She was just working her butt off to close that deal, so she could travel the world with you, bro." And that brings us to today. I finally couldn't take it anymore and asked Chloe, "A picture of you kissing Leo was sent to my phone. How do you explain that?" Which led to me being here, packing my bags. But in truth, this wasn't the first time I'd heard Chloe say, "Get out of my house." After we got married, Chloe's favorite line was, "Get out of my house." She knew I was all alone in the city, that a flight back home to see my family in California would take hours. She knew my parents weren't in the best health, and that I was the type to put on a brave face and not worry them. So whenever we fought, she'd use that line. And once she said it, no matter what the issue was, it suddenly became my fault. I remember the first time she said it. I was completely stunned, just sitting in our room, heartbroken. 3 hours later, she came in and knelt before me, her eyes welling up with tears. With a trembling voice, she begged, "Ethan, I don't know what's wrong with me. When I get angry, I just think of how my mom treated my dad. To me, this place is only a home because you're in it. I'm so sorry. Please don't go. Please don't leave me, okay?" Seeing her look so fragile, like she would shatter at the slightest touch, I forgave her without a second thought. After that, we fell into a vicious cycle. She'd tell me to leave, I'd hide in the room, and she'd come and apologize. I closed my eyes. The door behind me suddenly opened. Chloe stood there, her hand on the knob. "Ethan," her words died in her throat when she saw the suitcase on the floor. She snapped her head up to look at me, then sneered. "Well, look at you," finally grew a spine. "Hurry up and finish so you can leave. Don't keep me from my sleep." My body went rigid, but I didn't look back, only moving faster to pack my things. The pop-up comments appeared again. "Bro, just look back at her. She's about to cry. If the main character turns around, she'll definitely hug and kiss him. The rest of this scene would be rated R. I promise you, right now her inner voice is screaming, "Please don't go." I stared at the lines of text, feeling my breath catch in my throat. From the day we started dating until now, for 7 years, she had pushed me away time and time again, and I had always shamelessly come right back, clinging to her like glue. I had lived like this for 7 years. During one fight, she had sneered at me, "Ethan, do you even know the meaning of the words self-respect?" She didn't understand that when you fall in love with someone, you can lose your self-respect. But now, I just couldn't love her anymore. I snapped the suitcase shut, zipped it, and extended the handle. I walked right past Chloe, opened the front door, and strode out without looking back. As I walked out of the building, the comments flashed again. It's over. Bro is really angry this time. If the main character doesn't do something now, she's going to lose him for good. Why is she just standing on the balcony like a statue? Bro is about to leave the apartment complex. Just as I was about to give in and look back, my phone blared. I saw Chloe on the screen, and my heart skipped a beat, but my hand betrayed me and answered the call. Her voice on the other end was frigid. That little figurine on the nightstand. Do you want it? If not, I'm throwing it out. Her words felt like a knife in my chest, the pain so sharp it took my breath away. The figurine was a pair of ceramic dolls we had made together on our first date. We had carved our names into the base, and she had insisted on adding a heart around them. In all these years, no matter how bad our fights got, she had never, ever touched those dolls. And now, she was so casually saying, "If you don't want it, it's trash." The comments popped up again. Bro, what she's really asking is, if you don't even want this, are you really leaving me for good? A difficult person needs a partner who refuses to be pushed away. The main character is just testing you, making sure you won't leave. Staring at the words, I forced a trembling sound from my throat. Just throw them away. Chloe hung up without another word. I dragged my suitcase out of the complex and paid an exorbitant fee to a broker to find me a new apartment within 3 hours. By the time I was settled, it was dawn. I lay on the unfamiliar bed in a daze, experiencing my first night without Chloe in 7 years. The next day, I walked into the office feeling like a zombie. When I got to my desk, I saw a Starbucks Americano sitting there. I turned to ask a coworker about it, but then I saw Chloe and her assistant, Leo, walking in together. Leo was smiling brightly. It's my birthday today. My director, Ms. Davis, is treating everyone to coffee, and there will be cake this afternoon. His birthday, and Chloe was paying. Instantly, every eye in the office turned to me. My hands at my sides clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms. Then, I picked up the coffee, and meeting Leo's surprised gaze, I raised it in a toast. Happy birthday, Leo. He was speechless, but Chloe turned to me and said suddenly, Team Lead Miller, you were late today. Watch your attitude. Just because you're in admin doesn't mean you can slack off. The looks I was getting now shifted, a mixture of pity and mockery. I couldn't help but feel humiliated, but more than that, my heart grew cold. I forced myself to look Chloe straight in the eye. I already cleared my lateness with my supervisor last night. You don't need to concern yourself with it, Ms. Davis. Chloe's lips tightened. She gave me one last, deep look before turning and walking away. The moment she was gone, my office frenemy piped up. So, Ethan, all those happy posts on your Facebook were just for show, huh? Your wife doesn't give a damn about you. Makes sense, though. She's pulling in 7 figures and you're just an admin. You were always punching way above your weight. He smirked, grabbing his coffee and scoffing as he walked past my desk. I stared down at the Americano on my desk and suddenly remembered something. When we first started at this company, Chloe and I were both on the engineering team, but there was a strict no fraternization policy within departments. To avoid any issues, and figuring one of us needed to have a more regular schedule for our home life, I voluntarily transferred to administration. After the transfer, I worked a strict 9 to 5, making sure our home was perfectly kept. And now, to Chloe, I was just the admin. I sat in silence as the comments appeared again. Bro, don't listen to them. The main character only bought coffee for the whole company, so she'd have an excuse to come to the admin floor and see you. Seriously, her eyes lit up when her assistant mentioned his birthday. You have to believe me, bro. I believed them, but Chloe could have just walked over to my department anytime. Instead, she chose the one way that would cause me the most public humiliation. I couldn't focus for the rest of the morning, no matter how hard I tried. Around noon, my boss, Sarah, called me into her office. The moment I walked in, she slid a file across her desk. Our Berlin office just had a key engineering lead and his whole team get poached by a competitor. I need you to pull the performance reviews for the last year and find a suitable replacement to send over and take control. Something clicked inside me. A thought surfaced, and the words tumbled out before I could stop them. Sarah, I was originally an engineer. I'd like to volunteer for the overseas transfer. The moment I said it, both Sarah and I froze. I had never, ever considered voluntarily leaving Chloe. But now that the idea was there, it was impossible to ignore. Sarah hesitated. Ethan, this is a big commitment. It requires a new contract, a minimum of 5 years overseas. Don't you need to discuss this with your wife, with Director Davis? I shook my head, my resolve hardening.
No, Sarah.
I can make this decision myself. I gave up my career once for my family. Now that I have a chance to get it back, I don't want to miss it. The way Sarah looked at me changed after I said that. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. I'll put your name forward to corporate. Don't let me down. I nodded emphatically, a surge of excitement building in my chest. As I walked out of her office, the pop-up comments flickered to life. Why is bro going abroad? What's the main character going to do? Main character, you better come console my bro, or you're really going to be single. Hugging his pillow and crying all night won't help you now. This time, I ignored them, eagerly diving back into my old engineering manuals. Luckily, even though I'd been an admin for 2 years, I'd kept up my old college habit of reading the latest industry journals. I spent the entire day cramming until I got an iMessage from my good friend, Sam. Ethan, it's my birthday tonight. Think you can make it? I remembered immediately and quickly texted him back. After work, as I walked out of the office building, I saw Chloe's silver Bentley parked across the street. I stopped in my tracks. The comments started flashing. Bro, the main character is here to pick you up. Just stare at her for 2 seconds. She'll definitely come right over. I had just paused when someone bumped into me hard from behind, making me stumble. I turned to see Leo's beaming face. Oh, sorry, Team Lead Miller. I'm in a rush to go celebrate with our director. Didn't see you standing there. I froze. Leo continued. By the way, the director is taking me to Juliet's trattoria. I saw on your Facebook you've eaten there. Any recommendations? At his words, my mind went completely blank. Juliet's trattoria was where I had first told Chloe I loved her. I had once told her, very seriously, this is our special place. Even if we ever break up, you can't bring anyone else here. And she had looked me in the eye and replied, just as seriously, there won't be anyone else. Only you. Now, it felt like a hole had been punched through my chest, cold and pain spreading through my entire body. Before I could even process what Leo had said, Chloe was rushing across the street. She didn't even glance at me. Her dark eyes were fixed entirely on Leo as she asked anxiously, what happened? Are you hurt? The ridiculous thing was, even though I had just decided to move to another continent to get away from her, this scene still made my eyes sting. I couldn't stand to watch the intimate energy between them for another second. I took a step back, turned, and walked away as the comments in front of me flashed frantically. Bro, don't fall for the main character's mind games. She saw you get bumped and ran right across the street against the light for you. Why doesn't she just say something? Can't she see you're upset? Bro, why is she checking on him first? My pace quickened, the text blurring in my vision. I didn't stop until I had rounded a corner and they were out of sight. Leaning against the wall, I fiercely wiped the tears from my eyes and cursed myself. Ethan, you're so pathetic. Once I'd calmed down, I hailed a cab and headed to the address Sam had sent me. When I pushed open the door to the private room, my 3 best friends were deep in conversation. Noah sounded worried. You guys think Ethan is really going to show? Normally he'd be home cooking dinner for Chloe right now.
Ben snorted.
Last time I heard from him was 2 months ago. He called to ask about some women's perfume, obviously for Chloe. Sam, the birthday boy, sighed. I just really hope he shows. He bailed last time I was sick. I even ordered his favorite cheesecake. Hearing that, my eyes started to sting again. These were my 3 best friends. We used to talk about everything, completely inseparable. If one of us was in trouble, the other 3 would drop everything to be there. But somewhere along the line, my entire social life, my entire world, began to revolve around Chloe. It was like one day I woke up and the only thing that mattered was Chloe. For Chloe, I'd canceled guys' nights, skipped all-night karaoke sessions to cheer up a friend after a breakup, and bailed on our promised annual camping trip. I took a deep breath, blinked back the tears, and forced a smile as I pushed the door open, holding out the gift I'd brought. Sorry I'm late. Happy birthday, Sam. All 3 of them lit up when they saw me. Sam waved me over. Ethan, come on, we were waiting for you. Long day at work? We ordered all your favorites. I sat down, and as we laughed and joked around, I felt like my old, carefree self again. When it was time to cut the cake, Sam looked at me and pulled me into the center of the group. He looked at me seriously and said, Ethan, I'm giving my birthday wish to you. I just hope that you'll be happy from now on. I was stunned. Meeting his worried but encouraging eyes, I felt my own eyes burn with tears. See, Ethan? Even without love, you still have friendship. I blinked back the tears, closed my eyes, and clasped my hands together, making a wish. Ethan, may your future be your own. Live for yourself always and forever. That night was the happiest I had been in years. I didn't have to check my phone for messages from Chloe. I didn't have to worry about her germophobia while having a food fight with my friends. I could drink as much as I wanted and scream off-key karaoke songs to let it all out. Eventually, I just passed out on the booth sofa. In a haze, I thought I heard Ben say he'd take me home and the others should go ahead. I vaguely remembered that I hadn't even told them I'd moved out. The next time I was conscious, I heard Ben swearing a blue streak, and he was saying Chloe's name. I forced my eyes open. Chloe was standing in the bedroom doorway in a silk nightgown. Next to her stood a disheveled Leo. Ben, who always had a short fuse, was still yelling, "Davis, the only reason I'm not decking you is because you're a woman. Do you have any idea what you said in your wedding vows? How could you do something so shameless? You're disgusting." Chloe's face was a cold mask. She looked at Ben like he was something she'd scraped off her shoe. I just stared at the scene, my mind a complete blank. The comments went wild. What a mess. She just called her assistant over to drop off a file and gets caught like this. There's no explaining your way out of this one. It's all the assistant's fault. What important file has to be delivered this late at night? My poor bro, waking up from a drunken stupor to this. Main character, explain yourself. What good is just staring at him with your fists clenched? I followed the comment's direction and looked at Chloe. She was staring right at me. Our eyes met. She spoke first. "Ethan, get your lunatic friend and get out of my house. If you're gonna cause a scene, don't do it here." A sharp pain shot through my chest. I forced out the only question that mattered. "Chloe, don't you have anything to explain to me?" But Chloe just gave a small, cold laugh, her voice dripping with scorn. "Why would I need to report my actions to you?" A bitter pain exploded in my chest. It felt like a hand was squeezing my heart, so tight I couldn't breathe, my vision turning black at the edges. The feeling, combined with the alcohol, made me want to throw up. I covered my mouth and staggered to the trash can. As I leaned over, I saw a pile of broken ceramic pieces inside. It was the dolls. I stared at the broken pieces, gripping the rim of the bin, and retched violently, as if trying to vomit up my own heart. "Ethan!" Ben rushed to my side, rubbing my back. The entire time, Chloe just stood in the bedroom doorway, completely still. "Chloe!" I could feel Ben about to lose it again, so I grabbed his arm. But when I looked up, I saw his face freeze. His voice became soft and pained. "Ethan, man, don't cry." I numbly raised a hand to my face and felt the wet tracks on my cheeks. I hadn't even realized I was crying. The comments flashed nonstop. "The main character was about to rush over when you got sick. Bro, your friend just got there first. Seeing you so broken, she immediately regrets her harsh words. Bro, don't be sad about the broken dolls." The main character secretly made a new set. She was going to use them to apologize. That's why she threw the old ones out. I couldn't even read them anymore. I gripped Ben's hand, letting him help me to my feet. "Ben," I said, my voice hoarse, "let's go." He clenched his jaw, shot one last venomous glare at Chloe, and then led me firmly toward the door. Just before we reached the door, I stopped. I turned back to look at Chloe and said, "Seriously, Chloe, we need to find a time to file for divorce." As the elevator descended, I leaned weakly against Ben, and my mind flooded with memories. All the little things from my years with Chloe, like how I was always forgetting my keys, but she refused to get a keypad lock. Once, I had to wait in the hallway until midnight for her to get home, and the first thing she said was, "Maybe now you'll learn not to be so forgetful." Or the time our downstairs neighbor called me at work to say a pipe had burst and was leaking into their apartment. I had to leave work early and rush home, only to find Chloe was there the whole time. When I asked why she hadn't called a plumber, she just said, "That's always been your job. What does it have to do with me?" Or the time she was on a business trip and I bought a new Monstera plant for the apartment. I sent her 3 iMessages with a picture, and she never even replied. When I tried to send a fourth, I realized she had blocked my number. When she got back, she told me, "It was distracting me during my meeting. You don't need to message me about trivial things." Trivial things. They were all trivial things. But in an avalanche, every single snowflake plays a part. The elevator doors opened on the ground floor. Ben asked me carefully, "Ethan, you okay?" I snapped out of my reverie and managed a small smile. Not being trapped by all that anymore. That's a good thing, right? Ben dropped me off at my new apartment and then left. I lay in bed, expecting a long, sleepless night, but I was out the moment my head hit the pillow. The next morning, the sun was shining. I went to work like any other day. But as I approached the entrance to the building, I saw Chloe, waiting. The pop-up comments sprang to life. "The main character has been standing here since before dawn. She was terrified she'd miss you, bro. She's finally starting to get it. After you left last night, she blew up at her assistant. She's going to have him transferred." Chloe saw me and strode over. She looked me up and down, then frowned. What are you wearing? I've told you that style doesn't look good on you. Go home and change. I glanced down at my shirt, my fists clenching at my sides. I didn't want to argue, but I couldn't stop myself. What I wear is my choice. We're getting a divorce, Chloe. Do you understand that? Hearing this, her frown deepened. She seemed to be trying to hold her temper, but the impatience in her eyes was clear. The engineering department is swamped right now. I don't have time for your drama. The comments flickered in my vision. Didn't she come here to apologize? What's with this attitude? Come on. She was up all night, just replaying you asking for a divorce in her head. She's probably not thinking straight. They were all saying she was softening, but all I could see was her cold, indifferent face, and all I could hear were her icy words. Fine, if you're going to be this stubborn, there's nothing I can do. I looked at Chloe and saw the absolute certainty in her eyes. She was sure I wouldn't leave her, sure that this was all just a bluff. Suddenly, I had nothing left to say to her. I just nodded. I'll have the divorce papers drawn up as soon as possible. With that, I walked past her and into the building. When I got to my desk, Sarah came over with a file. Ethan, it's urgent. They need someone in Berlin ASAP. The CEO personally approved your transfer request. I've booked you on a flight for 9 p.m. tomorrow night. Can you make that work? I was stunned for a second, then nodded firmly. Yes, I can. Holding the thin file in my hand, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The rest of the day was a blur of activity. I spent hours transitioning my duties, then met up with Ben, Sam, and Noah at our old college hangout spot. They were shocked when I told them the news, but they were all quick to congratulate me. Ben slapped the table. That's awesome, Ethan. You get a promotion and you get away from that toxic woman. 2 birds with 1 stone. Congratulations. I couldn't help but laugh. After dinner, we all headed home. I was taking a slow walk home when a sudden clap of thunder echoed overhead. Before I could find shelter, the sky opened up. I was completely drenched by the time I got to my apartment. I took a hot shower and popped a couple of cold prevention pills, but by the middle of the night, I was burning up with a fever. Groggy and aching, I forced myself out of bed and called a cab to the hospital. My flight was tomorrow. I couldn't risk having to reschedule and look like I wasn't committed to the new role. At 2 in the morning, I finally stumbled up to the doors of the emergency room. I pushed the door open and immediately heard Chloe's familiar voice. Doctor, is my boyfriend going to be okay? I instinctively looked over. Inside, Chloe was standing by a desk, while Leo sat in a chair, leaning heavily against her. Her voice was laced with panic. It's just food poisoning. Why is he in so much pain? Doctor, you have to give him something. I stared at her, dazed. I'd had food poisoning before. All she had told me then was to drink some water and rest. I numbly watched the comments flicker in my vision. I'm not defending the main character this time. Bro is here alone with a fever, and she's taking care of her assistant. Isn't she only acting this worried because she saw you arrive? She's just trying to make you jealous. I didn't go all the way in. I just turned and sat down on a chair in the waiting area. The ER was empty, the silence so heavy the air felt thick. I don't know how long I sat there before the door opened. 2 figures walked out and stopped right in front of me. I looked up and saw Chloe staring right at me. The moment our eyes met, she looked away, supporting Leo as she walked past without another glance. A nurse came over and placed a thermometer against my forehead. She checked the reading and gasped. 103.1. Are you okay? I looked up at her and smiled. I feel fine. In the haze of that 103-degree fever, the last embers of hope I had for her finally burned out. I got a shot to bring the fever down, picked up my prescription, went home, and went straight to bed. I must have a strong constitution because my fever was gone the next day. I looked at the thermometer and breathed a sigh of relief. Great, I don't have to change my flight. It was only then that I saw my phone. 17 missed calls from Chloe. I suddenly remembered how, back when we were dating, if I got truly angry, she would call me nonstop until I forgave her. But after we got married, I learned to let things go, and the frantic calls stopped. I smiled to myself, and with a tap of my finger, I blocked her number. The comments flashed urgently. No, bro. The main character parked outside your building last night. She waited until your lights went out before she left. She's watching over you in secret, but you don't know. This is just too cruel. I ignored the comments, found a print shop, and printed out a divorce agreement. We didn't have many assets to split. The apartment was in her name, and my salary was my own. It was simple. After that, I just had to pack and call my new landlord to terminate the short-term lease. Turns out, when you really want to leave, it's surprisingly easy. With everything settled, I brought my suitcase downstairs, planning to find a FedEx to mail the divorce papers. But Chloe was waiting for me. She was leaning against her silver Bentley, looking pale and exhausted. When she saw me with my suitcase, her face tensed. "Where are you going?" she asked urgently. I gave a vague answer. "The company is sending me on a business trip." She seemed to relax a little. "I was just in the neighborhood," she said casually. "Let me give you a ride to the airport." I looked at her for a moment, then nodded. As I got into the car, the comments started flashing like crazy. "Isn't she going to ask any follow-up questions? Bro is being transferred, not going on a 2-day trip. She obviously came looking for you because you weren't at work. Why pretend she was just passing by? What's the point of being so stubborn?" The comments were frantic, but Chloe didn't say another word to me for the entire drive. At the airport, she walked me all the way to the security gate. As I started to head through, she suddenly called out, "Ethan, when you get back, we'll go visit your parents in California together." I turned to look at her. Her expression was serene, as if nothing had ever happened between us. That was her way. Every fight we'd ever had, we'd made up within a week. She probably assumed this time would be no different, that I'd come back from my trip and everything would go back to normal. I just looked at her silently as the airport announcer's voice echoed through the terminal. "Attention passengers on flight DH9755 to Berlin. Boarding will close in 30 minutes. DH9755. That was my flight. I snapped back to reality. I reached into my carry-on, pulled out the manila envelope containing the divorce papers, and handed it to her. She took it, a confused look on her face. I gave her a relaxed smile. "I've already signed my part. Just sign yours and email me a copy." Then, I turned and walked toward the security line. "Goodbye, Chloe. This time, it's our marriage that's disappearing into thin air." I cleared security and was walking away when I heard her panicked voice behind me. "Divorce papers? Ethan, what is this?" I glanced back. She was being held back by the TSA agents, her eyes wide with disbelief. I gave a small, tight smile, boarded the plane, and left her shouting behind me for good. After a nearly 13-hour flight, I finally landed in Berlin. After one night of rest in the corporate apartment, I dove headfirst into work. For 3 straight days, I was at the office around the clock, not once thinking about Chloe. When I finally stepped outside again, the sunlight stung my eyes. It felt like I'd been living in a different world. As my eyes adjusted, I saw her. Chloe was standing a short distance away, staring at me with bloodshot eyes. "Ethan," I just stared back, unable to process it. I had assumed the next time I saw her would be years from now, when I returned to the States. While I was still frozen, she strode right up to me, her voice hoarse from travel. "Why didn't you tell me this was a corporate transfer, that you'd be gone for 5 years? Have you started lying to me now, too?" I frowned. "Chloe, did you not see the divorce papers I gave you?" Her eyes grew even redder. She grabbed my hand, her voice desperate. "I didn't agree to it, so we're not getting divorced." I'd never seen her act so irrational. For a moment, I was speechless. The pop-up comments started again. "So this is the chasing the husband across the world arc? Kinda dramatic. I like it. She flew all the way here. She's definitely not here to sign any papers. But her attitude is still terrible. Bro isn't buying it anymore." I read that last comment and my lips twitched into a wry smile. It was true. Even if she didn't want a divorce, the first thing she did was accuse me of lying. Not getting a response, Chloe started pulling me along. "Go to HR and withdraw your application for the transfer. There are plenty of other engineers. Why do you have to be the one to go?" I stopped and yanked my hand free. "Chloe, I earned this opportunity, and you want me to just throw it away because you said so?" She stared at me, her eyes filled with confusion. "What are you even thinking? We haven't resolved our issues, and you just run away to the other side of the world to hide? Is that your solution?" She actually thought I was hiding from her. A feeling of complete exhaustion washed over me. I pushed down my anger and said as calmly as I could, "Sign the papers, Chloe, then everything will be resolved." She stared at me, her eyes becoming more and more bloodshot. Suddenly, she asked, "Ethan, I told you when we got married. For me, it's till death do us part. You know how seriously I take that. Is this your new way of torturing me?" I had no idea how to respond to that level of paranoia. Just then, someone tapped me on the shoulder. "Hey Ethan, could I catch a ride with you today?" I turned and saw a colleague from the new office, Jake. I wanted an excuse to get away from Chloe, so even though I barely knew him, I agreed. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief until I was in my company car. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Chloe was still standing there, a small figure in the distance, her expression unreadable. I looked away from the mirror and asked Jake, "So, where do you live?" "Oh, you can just drop me at the next intersection is fine." I gave him a confused look. He winked. "That was your ex, right? You looked like you needed an escape route." so I figured I'd help you out. His sincerity was a bit embarrassing, but I thanked him anyway. Jake just waved it off. No problem. I can't stand people who can't take a hint. I didn't want to get into the details of my life with Chloe, so I dropped him off at the next corner as he'd asked. Before he closed the door, he said, "I'll grab you a coffee tomorrow morning. Thanks for the ride." He gave a wave and was gone. I got back to my apartment, rubbed my aching temples, and went to run a hot bath. The tub was half full when my phone rang. I saw the caller ID and picked up. "Mom? What's up?" "Ethan, your father and I decided to come visit you in the city for a few days. We just stopped by your apartment, but there's a strange man here." My heart clenched. I watched the water level rise in the tub and closed my eyes. "Mom, there's something I haven't told you. I'm divorcing Chloe. I've already signed the papers, we're just finalizing things." The line was silent for a long time before my mom finally spoke. "Where are you now? Your father and I will come to you." "You don't have to, Mom. I've been transferred overseas for work. Once things settle down here, I promise I'll call and explain everything. Ever since I graduated from college, my parents have always trusted me to handle my own affairs. This time was no different. After hanging up, I stripped down and sank into the tub. As the hot water enveloped me, I thought with a strange sense of detachment that the man my mom saw must have been Leo. So, Chloe was here in Berlin, claiming she didn't want a divorce, while Leo was making himself at home in our apartment back in the States. A bitter, ironic smile touched my lips, and I let myself sink deeper into the water. New comments appeared in my vision. "The main character is definitely being misunderstood again. She just asked her assistant to go to the apartment and mail her some of her things. Who wouldn't misunderstand that? The assistant is the whole reason he's leaving her. Well, now his parents are going to be disappointed in her too. I was hoping they could talk some sense into him." I closed my eyes, trying to block out the information. My parents aren't old-fashioned. They would never try to stop me from getting a divorce. If they knew how much I'd been hurt, they'd be the first ones telling me to leave her. I slept soundly that night. When I woke up, a light rain was falling. As I headed out with my umbrella, I saw her standing downstairs. The nights in Berlin were cold. I had no idea how long she'd been waiting there, or what she even wanted. I felt I'd made myself perfectly clear yesterday and had no desire to rehash it. I started to walk around her, but she called out, "Ethan, I didn't sign the papers." She stepped in front of me, her tone serious. "Either I'll request a transfer here, or you're coming back with me. Even if I did do something wrong, you have to give me a chance to fix it." A lump formed in my throat. I looked at her and spoke slowly. "Chloe, haven't I given you chances? The night Leo was at our apartment, I asked you for an explanation. Do you remember what you said? You threw away our dolls. Did you ever once stop to think how that would make me feel?" Chloe frowned. "I've told you 100 times, we just work together. And yes, I threw the old dolls away, but I made you a new set." She reached for my arm. "Ethan," I jerked back. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice cold. Chloe, the woman who was so obsessed with personal space, had let Leo come and go from our home as he pleased. And to this day, she had never once tried to explain that photo of them kissing. She clearly hadn't expected me to be so forceful. Her expression turned sour. I took another step back. "I have my own life now. Please stop interfering with it." Her own anger flared. "Ethan, I came all this way to apologize. What more do you want? As long as I don't sign those papers, we are still legally married." I glanced back at her, my voice dropping to an icy calm. "Chloe, this refusal to let go, you're acting like a shrew. After all our years together, I knew exactly which buttons to push." Her face went beyond anger. It was a mask of fury. I got in my car and drove away, feeling surprisingly good. When I got to the office, Jake was waiting by the entrance. "Hey Ethan, that woman didn't bother you again, did she?" Seeing the genuine concern in his eyes warmed me a little. I handed him the coffee I was holding. "Don't worry, I can handle it." As I said it, the comments appeared. "It's over. Bro is now just handling the main character. He's really given up on her. Poor main character." She swallowed her pride and called a dozen people to find his address, only for him to crush her feelings this morning. "She knows she was wrong. Just give her one more chance, bro." I ignored them and walked into the office. I stopped short when I saw someone sitting at a desk near mine. She looked up, a bright smile on her face, and waved. "Ethan." Surprise. Surprise? More like a shock. As the only daughter of our company's chairman, I had no idea what Sofia Garcia was doing here. "Shouldn't you be back in the States? What are you doing here?" I asked. Sofia was completely unfazed. "I just finished my MBA, and Dad wants me to get some real-world experience. Since this branch is in crisis mode, fixing it would look great on my resume." She added with a grin. "Plus, My dad felt better about it knowing you were here to keep an eye on things. Before I could respond, I heard Jake mutter behind me, so the princess has arrived. I don't know if Sophia heard him, but her expression didn't change. I didn't dwell on it. I remember you studied finance. Start by analyzing the last quarter's financial data. Sophia, to her credit, had none of the laziness you might expect from an heiress. She worked diligently all morning. Jake, on the other hand, kept sneaking glances at her. When lunchtime came, Sophia stood in front of my desk. Ethan, can I join you for lunch? I rubbed my temples. Fine. Jake immediately shot up from his chair. I'll come too. The three of us were walking out of the building, trying to decide where to eat, when we ran into Chloe holding a takeout bag. Her face was blank as she held the bag out to me. I know you don't like the food here, so I found a Chinese place and ordered for you. She glanced at Sophia and Jake, then pursed her lips. I didn't know you had company. I didn't order enough for everyone. I didn't take the bag. You eat it. I'm going with them. Chloe's brow furrowed. Ethan, do you really have to treat me like this? Before I could say anything, Sophia spoke up. Isn't this Director Davis? I heard there's a problem with that big project you're managing. At a critical time like this, you're not back in the States, but you're here instead. Isn't that a little inappropriate? Chloe recognized her, of course. Her lips formed a thin line as she said coolly, there's no problem with the project. You shouldn't believe everything you hear. She then looked at me. If you're all going to lunch, I'm coming with you. I suddenly lost my patience. Chloe, let me be perfectly clear. I don't want to have lunch with you. Do you understand? Chloe froze, stunned, as the comments in front of me started flashing frantically. Bro, don't be so harsh. She's just difficult. She never meant to betray you. I support whatever my bro does. He's the one who's been hurt, after all. Reading that last line, I felt a pang of sadness. In all my years with Chloe, I really had been treated unfairly. But not anymore. I ignored Chloe, who was still standing there fuming, and left with Sophia and Jake. When we got to the restaurant, I noticed both Sophia and Jake were staring at me. What? I asked. Jake looked relieved that I'd spoken. Ethan, that was awesome back there. That's exactly how you shut down a toxic ex-firm and direct. He was tactful enough not to ask for details about what happened between me and Chloe, just kept complimenting me. I managed a small smile. Okay, let's order. I didn't feel particularly amazing. If I were, I wouldn't have let myself be treated that way for so many years. I didn't notice that Sophia had been quiet the whole time, just watching me. By the time we got back to the office, Chloe was gone. I had always been so accommodating with her. That was the first time I had ever been so blunt. If that's what it took to make her understand that I was done, I was prepared to do it again. I didn't see Chloe for the next several days. I assumed she'd flown back to the States. I felt a surprising sense of relief. The pop-up comments still appeared from time to time. Bro is so focused and charming when he's working. Is the main character going all in on his career and finally moving on from her? I just read their discussions and smiled. After a month of peace and quiet, I got an iMessage from Leo. Team Lead Miller, could you please unblock Director Davis? It kills me to watch her try to call you every night. I stared at the message, then promptly blocked his number too. Whatever Leo or Chloe were up to, it had nothing to do with me. I never imagined my quiet life would end because of that one iMessage. But there they were, standing in front of me with their suitcases, and I found it impossible to smile. Leo handed me a file. Team Lead Miller, corporate is considering adding a new production line here in Germany. We've been sent to conduct a feasibility study. I glanced at the official letterhead, asked no further questions, and led them to an empty office. Director Davis, this office has 2 desks. It should be sufficient for you and your assistant. Chloe's fists clenched. I didn't ask to be put in the same office as him. Leo's expression soured. I just smiled. My apologies, but there are no other offices available. You shared an office with him back in the States. I don't see why you'd need special arrangements here. My open sarcasm clearly made Chloe uncomfortable. Her expression shifted, and she suddenly looked at me. So, you were jealous about this before? She looked genuinely confused. If you were jealous, why didn't you just tell me? I looked at her frowning face and felt a wave of revulsion. Director Davis, we are not married anymore. Please maintain a professional distance. I have no desire to discuss the past. From now on, I expect our relationship to be strictly professional. Chloe's expression darkened, but before she could reply, I turned and walked out. We were both busy, so we didn't interact at all for the rest of the day. By the time I was ready to leave, the light in her office was already out. I rubbed my stiff neck and was heading home. As I reached the ground floor, I heard a low, choked sob. I instinctively looked toward the sound and saw Leo and Chloe. Leo looked utterly devastated, while Chloe just stood there, frowning deeply. I was about to turn away when I heard Leo's pleading voice. "Chloe, you're carrying my child. We can't just let it end like this." I didn't stay to hear any more. I turned and walked away without a sound. The comments in front of me flashed wildly. "What? The main character is pregnant with someone else's baby. What about our bro then? See, he was right not to forgive her. She would have just kept cheating. This has to be a misunderstanding. The main character would never betray him." I started my car, my emotions completely unaffected by the comments. I just replayed Chloe's expression in my mind. She had looked annoyed, but she hadn't denied what Leo said. Knowing her as I did, that meant it was almost certainly true. I gripped the steering wheel, feeling a sense of bitter absurdity. She puts on this show of undying love for me, while she's pregnant with another man's child. The thought passed through my mind and was gone, leaving nothing behind. I pulled out my phone and called Ben. He picked up after a couple of rings. "Ethan? What's up?" I stared at the road ahead. I had divorce papers drawn up, but Chloe refuses to sign them. Before I could finish, Ben exploded. "What do you mean? After everything, she has the nerve to say she doesn't want a divorce." I gave a dry laugh. "That seems to be the general idea. I need to know what my options are for forcing it through." Ben, ever the lawyer, got straight to the point. "Do you have any proof that she cheated?" I thought for a moment. "I have that picture of her kissing him." Ben was quiet for a second. "And? That's it." I felt a little embarrassed. "Yeah, that's it. I guess that's not enough to prove anything, is it?" Took Ben a moment to reply. "Send me the photo. Let me take a look at it." "Okay, I'm driving right now. I'll send it when I get home." When I got back to my apartment, I sent him the photo. A minute later, a FaceTime call came through from him. "Ethan, who sent you this picture?" I had no idea where he was going with this, but I answered honestly. "Her assistant, Leo." Ben's brow was furrowed. "This photo is a fake. I ran it through a program. They were standing close, but that's it. It's been manipulated." I was stunned. The comments in front of me exploded with activity. I knew it. The main character would never betray him. It was all that scheming assistant's fault. No wonder she was so angry. She was framed. Even if the photo is fake, she's still pregnant with the assistant's baby now. I quickly told Ben, "There's something else. I overheard Leo today. He said Chloe is pregnant with his child." Ben's eyes went wide. Took him a moment to find his voice. "That witch." "Ethan, just hang tight. I'll make some calls. See if I can get a look at her medical records." As a lawyer, Ben knew people everywhere. This was well within his capabilities. After we hung up, I let out a long, heavy sigh. I couldn't help but wonder, if I had known the photo was fake back then, would things have turned out differently? The answer was still no. I was tired of her indifference, tired of living a life that wasn't my own. Even without Leo, something else would have eventually exposed how incompatible we were. I was happy with my life now. I had no desire to go back. Pushing the chaotic thoughts from my mind, I noticed a new iMessage on my phone from an unknown number. "Ethan, let's go to the Brandenburg Gate tonight. You were the one who proposed to me. This time, will you give me a chance?" I looked down at the screen and smiled grimly. The Brandenburg Gate, that's where I had proposed to her. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed out a reply to her plea for reconciliation. "No, thank you. What you should be thinking about right now is what you're going to do about your and Leo's child." Less than an hour after I sent the message, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. Of course, it was Chloe. Her face was etched with a panic I had never seen before, her forehead beaded with sweat. I had no intention of opening the door. Her emotions were no longer my problem. I had already silenced my phone. I could see the screen lighting up repeatedly on my nightstand, but I ignored it. Finally, Chloe lost her patience and started shouting through the door. "Ethan, open the door. We need to talk." I let out a short, humorless laugh. I couldn't imagine what I could possibly have to talk about with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Her knocking grew louder, more frantic. I frowned, picked up my phone, declined her incoming call, and dialed building security. "There's someone harassing me at my apartment. I need you to send someone up." The response was immediate. "Right away, sir." Less than 3 minutes later, Chloe was escorted away, and silence returned. As for facing her at work tomorrow, I doubted she'd risk a public confrontation in front of the entire office. After all, her situation with Leo was a potential scandal. If it got out, it wouldn't look good for her. That night, our 4-person group chat was buzzing. "Sam, at Ethan, what's going on? You okay over there? Why is Chloe clinging to you like a barnacle? Noah, I'm looking for a spot for my next painting trip. Want me to come keep you company in Germany? Ben, Ethan, don't let it get you down, man. It's just one woman. Back in college, Ben the lawyer and Noah the artist had always been focused, starting their careers long before the rest of us. In our dorm, Sam was always my rock. He knew better than anyone how much I had loved Chloe, which was why he was the most worried I wouldn't be able to move on. I smiled as I typed back, "I'm fine, guys. Just a toxic ex at Noah. Thanks for the offer, but I'm swamped with work here." I'd be terrible company. Seeing that my tone was normal and I was even using emojis, they finally relaxed. After we finished chatting, I put my phone down and fell right to sleep. But I had a dream about Chloe and me back in college. I was so infatuated with her back then. I was happy just to stand on a street corner with her in the summer heat, handing out flyers for some cash. By the time we were done, we were both drenched in sweat. Chloe took the $80 we'd earned, marched me straight to a boba shop, and ordered the most expensive drink on the menu, a $12 monstrosity. I tried to stop her, but she just looked at me with that serious expression of hers and said, "I agreed to be your girlfriend. That doesn't mean I expect you to struggle alongside me." When I woke up, the memory of us sharing that one drink in the dream made me shake my head. Some people, some memories are best left in the past. Because now when I thought of Chloe, I couldn't recall any of the good times, only a dull, unpleasant ache. I got to the office and started my day, just like any other. A few moments later, a familiar figure appeared in front of my desk. I looked up into Chloe's intense stare and offered a polite smile. "Director Davis, can I help you with something?" Feeling the eyes of our coworkers on her, Chloe lowered her voice. "Let's talk outside." I didn't move. Instead, I raised my voice slightly. "Director Davis, I don't think that's appropriate. We're in the middle of divorce proceedings. It's not proper for you to keep seeking me out like this." The atmosphere in the office shifted instantly. Chloe's face turned thunderous. Seeing her expression, I was suddenly reminded of the day she bought coffee for the entire company for Leo's birthday. I'll admit it, a part of me wanted revenge. But now that I'd done it, I didn't feel any satisfaction, only a sense of disgust with myself. I looked away from her. "If you don't want me to say anything else, you should leave," I said calmly. I expected her to retreat. Someone as proud as her shouldn't be able to handle this kind of public humiliation. But to my surprise, her eyes suddenly filled with tears. She looked down, her voice hoarse. "Ethan, please, just let me explain." I paused, my hands hovering over my keyboard. The comments flickered. The main character is finally realizing he's not just bluffing about the divorce. She's panicking, but at this point, getting him to forgive her is going to be nearly impossible. I guess sitting in her car all night after getting kicked out of his building finally got through to her. She's figured it out. I considered for a moment. "I need to work now. We can talk after I'm done for the day." The despair on Chloe's face vanished, replaced by relief. "Okay," she breathed. "I'll wait for you outside after work." I ignored the curious stares from my colleagues. As I got up to take a file to another department, I noticed Sophia's desk was empty. "Where's Sophia?" I asked Jake. He looked up, confused. "Oh, her? She called in sick to HR this morning." I nodded. Sophia had always been a free spirit. I was surprised she'd lasted a month in the office. She probably got bored and decided to take a day off to explore. When I got back to my desk from the finance department, I saw I had a missed call from corporate headquarters. I called the number back immediately. The CEO's assistant answered. "Team Lead Miller, the chairman asked me to call you. I've just sent his personal cell number to your email. It's a personal matter, so please call him back at your convenience." I stared at my phone, completely bewildered. I'd only met the chairman a handful of times, mostly at company award ceremonies where he'd handed me a plaque. What could possibly be so important that someone at my level needed to call his personal number? I couldn't make sense of it, but I stepped out into the hallway and dialed the number from the email. It rang 3 times and then someone picked up. I was nervous, but before I could speak, I heard the chairman's booming laugh on the other end. "Ethan Miller, correct?" I gripped my phone tighter. "Mr. Garcia, sir. How can I help you?" There was a pause on the other end. "I recall you went to the same university as my wayward daughter, Sophia. We've had a bit of a disagreement, and with me being so far away, I can't really step in. She's refusing to come into the office. I was hoping you might be able to talk some sense into her for me." I was taken aback. On one hand, I was touched by how much the chairman cared for his daughter. On the other, the request was absurd. Sophia was a grown woman. Why was I being asked to mediate a family squabble? But he was the chairman of the board, so I had no choice but to agree. I ended the call and was about to head back to my desk when the pop-up comments stopped me in my tracks. "Something's off with this chairman. He was all smiles when he was on the phone with Sophia yesterday. Sophia is so lucky. She's rich and has a dad who loves her so much he's willing to help her chase after a guy. Main character, that was the first time the comments hadn't used that term for Chloe. The implication of what they were saying was unbelievable. Sophia was interested in me? It seemed completely impossible. For starters, I was nearly 6 years older than her, and we barely knew each other. A woman with her family and fortune could have anyone she wanted. Why would she be interested in a guy going through a messy divorce? And the idea of her father, the chairman, helping her was even more ludicrous. People in their circle married for status and business alliances, not for love. That's how it always worked in the stories, anyway. A dozen different thoughts raced through my mind, but I ultimately decided to just put it all out of my head. I needed to focus on my work and on getting my life back on track. With that decided, I headed back into the office. The moment I walked in, my coworkers started grinning at me. Looks like someone's popular with the ladies. Team lead Miller. Ethan, you gotta see this. Jake was standing by my desk, waving me over and stepping aside to reveal something. On my desk sat a huge, beautifully wrapped bouquet of sunflowers, bright and cheerful. I frowned and glanced toward Chloe's office. She was the only person here who knew sunflowers were my favorite. But when I looked over, I saw her glaring at the bouquet, her eyes practically shooting flames. It wasn't from her. I paused, then walked over to my desk. Tucked inside the flowers was a small card with a single line of elegant script. To today, for tomorrow. Congratulations on your freedom. It was signed, Sophia. I raised an eyebrow. If I remembered correctly, that was her name. I pulled the card out and slipped it into my notebook. Jake was grinning at me, his eyes full of gossip. So, Ethan, which lovely lady sent you those? I gave him a look. No idea. Get back to work. He stuck his tongue out but went back to his desk. I moved the large bouquet to the side of my desk and tried to focus on the reports in front of me. But every now and then, my eyes would drift to the sunflowers, catching the light from the window, and I had to admit they were beautiful. Before I knew it, it was the end of the day. I was on a video call with corporate, and the office around me had mostly emptied out. By the time I ended the call, the office was completely empty. No, not quite. I turned and saw Chloe standing in the doorway. I frowned. Seeing that I was free, she walked over. Is this why you came to Berlin? To get away from me and start seeing someone else? I was speechless at her baseless accusation. A bouquet of flowers proves I'm with someone else? I asked coldly. By that logic, with all the time you and Leo have been spending together, should I be suing you for adultery? Chloe stared at me, a look of disbelief in her eyes. When did you become so aggressive? Her constant accusations were wearing me down. I stood up, completely done with the conversation. Chloe, for years, I let you walk all over me. You mistook my tolerance for weakness. You seem to have forgotten that I was the captain of the debate team in college. Who I see and where these flowers came from is none of your business. And let me remind you one last time, I am divorcing you. Something I said must have set her off, because she suddenly became agitated. Why won't you explain? We're not divorced yet. This is cheating. As her righteous accusation hung in the air, the pop-up comments began to dance. Does the main character still not get it? Bro doesn't want her anymore. She's just panicking because she cares so much about him. What's so wrong with that? Has she even once thought about giving him a real apology? I'm getting tired of this. I'm starting to think bro should just move on. This main character isn't worth it. I looked past the comments at Chloe's reddened eyes and was suddenly transported back in time. When we first graduated, Chloe wasn't the high-powered executive she is today. Her parents had washed their hands of her, leaving her with nothing but the old apartment and never looking back. But my parents, worried about me, used every connection and resource they had to help her get on her feet. We barely saw each other back then. She was always studying for a certification or networking. And naturally, with me being on my own so much, other people started to show interest. Some of them knew I had a girlfriend, some didn't. Just as one of them was pursuing me quite seriously, Chloe showed up. She was waiting for me at the campus gate with a bouquet of sunflowers even bigger than the one on my desk. The moment she saw me, she didn't say a word. She just kissed me. Ethan, she said, just wait for me a little longer. I'm going to build a life for us. A better life than any of them could give you. I had never considered being unfaithful, but her words still filled me with joy. So I waited. I waited as she climbed the corporate ladder. I waited through the nights she didn't come home. I waited until she met Leo and got pregnant with his child. Thinking back on it now, it was all so ridiculous. And even more ridiculous was her, standing here now, accusing me of cheating. I lifted my chin and looked at her coldly. Then sue me. It would certainly speed up the divorce proceedings. The apartment is yours. I don't want anything from you. A clean break is exactly what I want. Chloe's pupils contracted, and her chest rose and fell rapidly, as if she couldn't find the words. Looking at her, I saw a reflection of my former self, the same helplessness, the same disbelief, the same heart-wrenching pain. So it was true what they say. What goes around comes around. I smiled, pushed past her, and walked away. When I got back to my apartment building, Sophia was waiting for me downstairs. She was leaning against a dark red Maserati, a brilliant smile on her face. "Ethan, did you like your gift today?" I glanced at her. "How did you know I liked sunflowers?" I asked coolly. "And did you really take the whole day off just to send me flowers?" Sophia's bright smile faltered. "It's after 5, she said, a hint of exasperation in her voice. "You're not my boss right now. Can't we just be friends?" "Even if I'm not your boss," I replied casually, "I'm still your senior. It's not out of line for me to ask." Sophia's brow furrowed slightly. "Senior, fine, but elder? I'm only 6 years younger than you." Before I could argue, she held up a hand. "Let's not talk about this. It's a beautiful night. Want to go for a drive?" I glanced up at the bright stars and felt a flicker of interest. The comments started up again. "Yes, this is the vibe. This girl knows a thing or two about romance. This is bad. He's not even divorced yet and he's getting in another woman's car." Given that the main character is pregnant with another man's child, I fully support this. I thought about it. "Okay, I'll go get my car." Sophia looked surprised. "You're not going to ride with me?" I smiled at her. "Sorry, I only feel safe when my own hands are on the wheel." So we ended up taking 2 cars, my sedan leading her Maserati away from my apartment building. I watched her in my rearview mirror, keeping a steady distance, and wondered how I was going to let her down gently. I just wasn't interested in a girl 6 years my junior. Besides, we came from completely different worlds. I had no interest in trying to adapt to her lifestyle. We were 2 different species of bird trying to fly in formation. It would never work. We drove aimlessly for a while, until a message from Sophia popped up on my phone. "Ethan, there's a street with a bunch of bars up ahead. Want to check it out?" I glanced at the brightly lit street ahead and texted back, "Sure." After we parked, Sophia came up beside me. "So, Ethan, how well do you hold your liquor? The drinks in Berlin are no joke." I thought about it. Back in my engineering days, I had my fair share of work dinners. I could handle my alcohol pretty well. I nodded. She picked a bar, and as soon as we sat down, she started ordering a long list of drinks and appetizers from the tablet menu. "Ethan, the garlic parmesan wings here are amazing. You have to try them." Before I could answer, a familiar voice cut in from beside me. "He hates garlic. Don't you do any research before you ask a guy out." I turned my head. Chloe was standing there, her face a dark cloud. I frowned. "What are you doing here?" Ignoring the clear annoyance in my voice, Chloe slid into the booth next to me. "I had something work-related to discuss with you. I saw you leaving, so I followed you." She said it without a hint of shame, even sitting the way she used to when we were dating, her arm linked through mine in a clear display of ownership. Her friends used to tease her about it. "He's right here, Chloe. Are you afraid he's going to run away?" "It's a habit," she'd say. Now, it was a habit I despised. I looked at her coolly. "Please move your hand." Her expression tightened, but she didn't move, just stared at me. I met her gaze without flinching, my meaning perfectly clear. She finally removed her hand, placing it on her lap and clenching it into a fist. I turned to Sophia. "Let's get an order." Chloe would never know the truth. I didn't hate garlic. She had once claimed to have a mild allergy to it, so I had just stopped eating it for her sake. I didn't have to worry about her anymore, so I could eat whatever I wanted. Sophia, who had been hesitating, immediately placed the order. She shot a triumphant, toothy grin at Chloe. I felt a smile touch my own lips. If Chloe was going to invite herself to this party, she couldn't blame me for not making her feel welcome. Sophia then added, with perfect timing, "Ms. Davis, just so you know, I'm only treating Ethan tonight. You'll be on your own tab." Chloe's fist clenched tighter, but for some reason, she didn't leave. I couldn't figure her out. The comments flickered. "Looks like the main character isn't going to let anyone else get near him. She's humbling herself this much and he still won't forgive her? Good for you, bro. Make her feel all the pain she put you through. She didn't care when she was the only one in his life. It's a little too late to be jealous now." Our food and drinks arrived quickly. The waitress was Asian, and after setting down our order, she said to us in accented English, "Tonight we have games for couples. You can win a grand prize." I was intrigued. What kind of games? Darts, roulette, things like that. Sophia's eyes lit up. "Ethan, I'm great at all of those, especially darts. You just pick a prize, and I'll win it for you." The waitress smiled. Well, I hope you all have fun. After she left, Sophia looked at me eagerly, trying to sell herself. Ethan, I think I know the game she's talking about. It's a couples game where the woman is blindfolded and the guy gives her directions. We should do it. We'd totally win. From the side, Chloe said coolly, you seem to know a lot about games. Sophia didn't miss a beat, smiling brightly. Of course, when you're young, you should have fun. It's better than some old fossils who only know how to play with people's emotions. A dangerous glint appeared in Chloe's eyes, and her knuckles went white as she clenched her fist. Sophia just drawled, getting defensive? I didn't name any names. Why are you so worked up? Her casual air seemed to infuriate Chloe even more, like trying to punch a cloud. I listened to them trade barbs, content to just sip my drink and enjoy the show. Since I'd been with Chloe, I had rarely gone out or socialized at all. I was always at home, waiting for her, taking care of the chores, living a bland and tasteless life. Now that I was free, I intended to make up for lost time. I glanced toward the front of the bar, where they were setting up a dartboard and a display of prizes. My eyes scanned the prizes and stopped on a small stuffed animal. I vaguely remembered seeing a similar one on Jake's desk. He'd probably like it. I could bring it to the office tomorrow as a little surprise. I turned to Sophia. Okay, let's play. I want that red stuffed animal. You got it, she said enthusiastically, her eyes already scanning the prize shelf to find the one I'd pointed out. Chloe couldn't help but interject. When did you start liking such childish things? Ethan, don't do this just to spite me. I didn't answer, but the comments had plenty to say. Main character, he's not trying to spite you. He actually wants it. Can't she try to see things from his perspective for once? She's making a fool of herself. Poor girl. Does she really still think he's hung up on her? Remember this. Caring means you still like them. His indifference proves he's over her. That last comment made me curious. These words were constantly flashing in my vision, but why was I the only one who could see them? And their thought processes, they seemed so human. If they were real people, what was their connection to me? I was lost in thought, completely oblivious to the dark, complicated look Chloe was giving me. The dart game started. When the enthusiastic bartender called out for the first brave couple, Sophia shot to her feet. That's us. Come on, Ethan. I looked at Chloe, who was still sitting beside me. Excuse me. As we stood up, the bartender grinned at Sophia. Your boyfriend is a handsome one. Before Sophia could reply, Chloe stood up abruptly. He's my partner, she interrupted. I'll be playing with him. Before Sophia could even react, Chloe had already walked up to the dart line. She looked directly at me. Ethan, give me one chance. If I can't win you that prize, I'll never bother you again. I looked at her, surprised. In all our years together, she had never shown the slightest interest in games or hobbies. Darts, especially, seemed far too childish for her. So where was all this confidence coming from? Still, her promise to never bother me again was exactly what I wanted. I thought for a moment, then turned to Sophia. I'll play with you next. I'm very interested in her terms. Sophia grinned. Okay, I can't wait to watch her lose. Sophia's competitive spirit made me want to smile. I stood up, walked over to Chloe, and tied the blindfold over her eyes. The bartender handed her 3 darts and explained the rules. The target is going to move. The gentleman can use any means necessary to give directions. If all 3 darts hit the board, you get to pick a prize. If all 3 hit the bullseye, you win the grand prize, $500. I nodded to show I understood. Then, from behind the blindfold, Chloe whispered, Ethan, for you, I won't lose. I felt a momentary daze, remembering a time when those words would have meant the world to me. But things had changed. Now they meant nothing. The dartboard locked into place. Southeast, I said casually. Chloe's grip on the dart tightened. It was a vague direction. She seemed unsure of where to aim. She finally understood why I had agreed to this. I wanted her to lose. She gripped the dart so hard the tip pricked her finger, drawing a drop of blood. She gave a bitter smile. Is this how much you want to be rid of me? How badly you want me out of your life? But Ethan, I told you, I won't lose. Hearing her say that, a strange feeling stirred within me. But in the next second, she raised her arm and threw. The dart flew straight and true, embedding itself in the board. A direct hit. I frowned. The comments started flashing. That's our main character for you. She's got skills. She's doing it for him. She's giving it her all. Yes, she's 1 for 1. She can do this. Bro, stop torturing her. Just give her this one chance. The target moved again. I paused for a moment, then said flatly, West, even more vague. Chloe's lips pressed into a thin, determined line. A moment later, she threw. Another hit. This time, it wasn't just me. A few people in the crowd started shouting, suspecting she was cheating. The bartender, seeing the commotion, hurried over. "Sir, we're going to need to inspect the lady's blindfold." I stepped back. "Be my guest." Even I was starting to suspect she was cheating, so it was no surprise that others did too. The bartender himself replaced her blindfold with a new one. He must have a good reputation around here, because the crowd immediately quieted down. All eyes were on Chloe, waiting for my final instruction. I looked at the dartboard, which was now directly in front of us, and gave the opposite direction. Southwest. Chloe paused, then turned toward where I was looking. I let out a breath of relief. She threw the dart, sending it flying toward an empty patch of wall. Clang. In a move that defied all logic, the dart hit the wall, bounced off, and landed dead center in the bullseye of the actual target. The bar was silent for a beat, then erupted in cheers. No one was accusing her of cheating now. They were chalking it up to some kind of mystical Eastern magic. Only Sophia yelled out, "That's just insane!" The cheering crowd was all the proof needed. Chloe removed the blindfold, her eyes seeming to sparkle. "Ethan," she said, "even fate wants us to be together." The roar of the bar was deafening. My head felt numb. I thought I heard someone nearby say, "What a romantic story." For a moment, looking at her, I felt my resolve waver. The comments started up again. "That's our main character. A natural at everything she does. Give me a break. She's not a natural. She's had plenty of practice playing this with her assistant while our bro was waiting at home for her. Stop giving her all this plot armor. My bro is the real main character of this story." "Ethan." A sharp shake snapped me out of my trance. Sophia was gripping my arm, her face filled with concern. "What's wrong?" I asked, disoriented. "You just froze," she said, her voice tight with worry. "You were just standing there, completely still. I called your name, but you didn't answer." "Ethan, are you okay?" Before I could answer, Chloe cut in. She pushed Sophia's hand off my arm, her voice icy. "Sophia, he's mine. Watch yourself." She spoke with a newfound confidence, an arrogant certainty, as if winning the game had proven something. Was it because she'd won the prize? I frowned, ignoring her, and turned to Sophia. "Okay, her turn is over. I still want that red stuffed animal. It's your turn to win it for me." Sophia cracked her knuckles. "With pleasure." The color drained from Chloe's face. She looked at me as if I had just betrayed her, but I didn't meet her gaze. The comments had already told me everything I needed to know. She'd gotten so good at darts by practicing with Leo. Why would I want a prize won under those circumstances? I casually picked one of the lesser prizes from her win to give to the bartender, then started a new game with Sophia. Chloe stood in the crowd, her face a thundercloud, as I gave Sophia clear, precise directions, far more helpful than the ones I'd given her. The crowd was now watching us with amusement. I guess people here were more open about this sort of thing, enjoying the drama of two women fighting over a man. When Sophia and I finished our round, we had successfully won the red stuffed animal. I smiled and nodded at Sophia. "Thanks." Sophia shot a look at Chloe, then walked off the stage like a conquering hero. "Ms. Davis," she said sweetly, "sometimes skill isn't enough. What really matters is whether someone is willing to give you a chance." Chloe's fists clenched, her voice so cold it could freeze water. "Sophia, if only your work ethic was as impressive as your mouth." Sophia just shrugged. "I don't need a work ethic. I have money. I can just hire people like you to work for me." The pointed remark made Chloe's face go rigid. Her eyes darted to me. I met her gaze coolly. "I'm done for tonight. I'm going home." "I'll give you a ride," Chloe said immediately. "No thanks. I have my own car." My constant rejections must have been getting to her. She spoke through clenched teeth. "Ethan, you promised." I raised an eyebrow. "Promised you what?" "You said you'd leave me alone if you lost." "I never said I'd take you back if you won. So whether you bother me or not has no bearing on the fact that I'm rejecting you, right?" Without waiting for an answer, I turned and walked out of the bar. I slept soundly. I got to the office early the next day and left the red stuffed animal on Jake's desk, snapping a quick picture and sending it to him. As expected, a 60-second voice memo came back immediately, filled with so much excited screaming that I had to turn it off halfway through. When I got to my own desk, I saw breakfast waiting for me. Soup dumplings and soy milk. From the smell, they were pork and chive. I paused. The comments started to flash. "This has to be from the main character. This is his favorite breakfast." Yeah, they went to a dozen different places in college trying to find the perfect ones. Correction, she didn't buy these. She made them herself. A taste of home in a foreign country. How thoughtful of her. I stared at the steaming dumplings for a moment, then pushed them to the side of my desk. Just as I was about to pull out the sandwich I'd made that morning, Chloe appeared in front of me. She frowned. You can't just eat that for breakfast. It's not good for your stomach issues. I'd already noticed her office door was ajar, so I wasn't surprised to see her. I kept my eyes down. Don't go to the trouble of making me breakfast again. I don't want it. Chloe was silent for a moment. Then what do you want? I'll make you whatever you want. I placed my sandwich on the desk and said flatly, no, thank you. It's not the food I don't want. It's anything made by your hands. Do you understand me now? She looked hurt, but she persisted. I know you're still angry, but I'll prove to you with my actions that I know I was wrong. As for the baby, I'll figure out a way to take care of it. In that instant, I lost my appetite completely. So she was admitting it. The baby was Leo's. What had happened between them behind my back was far more intimate than a single faked photograph. The thought alone made me feel sick to my stomach. When the wave of nausea passed, I looked at Chloe, and her beautiful face seemed like that of a complete stranger. Before I could speak, Sophia's cheerful voice cut through the tension. Ethan, I brought breakfast for you and Jake. Chinese pastries. A few other colleagues who were arriving laughed. Sophia, only bringing breakfast for the handsome guys? What about the rest of us? Sophia just laughed. Well, we're on the same team. If I ever get transferred to your team, I'll be sure to bring you guys breakfast too. She was so cheerful, it was hard not to smile. Sophia walked over, squeezed right past Chloe, and put a bag on my desk. Breakfast burritos and hot chocolate. One for you, one for Jake. I glanced at her, then at Chloe, who was still staring at me intently. I took the bag. I made a mental note to talk to Sophia when I had a chance. It would be great if we could just be friends, but if not, I needed to make it clear she was wasting her time. I took the breakfast from her and smiled. Thanks. Chloe watched from the side, a flash of anger in her eyes, but she quickly suppressed it. The comments flickered. The main character is so pathetic, getting completely owned by her rival. She deserves it. She's the one who cheated on our bro. It's a shame. They could have had a happy life together. I watched Chloe's retreating back, feeling nothing at all. I thought for a moment, then opened iMessage and sent a text to my old boss back in the States. How long are Director Davis and Leo scheduled to be here for their study? A reply came back a few minutes later. They were sent by the engineering department, so I'm not sure. It depends on their findings. For now, their budget is approved for 1 month. A month? It had been less than a week since she'd arrived. This was going to be a long month. I sighed and threw myself into my work, trying not to think about it. Just before lunch, Chloe took a phone call and rushed out of the office. I barely noticed. A few minutes later, I got an iMessage from Leo. Team Lead Miller, would you be free to grab a quick lunch? There's something I need to talk to you about. I glanced over at their office and saw Leo looking at me, his expression a complicated mix of hope and anxiety. For some reason, I suddenly felt a pang of pity for him. I texted back, okay. When lunchtime arrived, Jake came over to my desk. I have a lunch meeting, I told him. You and Sophia go ahead without me. He looked a little disappointed, but just nodded and went to get Sophia. Sophia glanced over at me with a surprised look before leaving with Jake. Leo and I found a quiet cafe nearby. After we ordered, he seemed nervous. He sat with his hands clasped together, and it was a long time before he spoke. I'm sorry, he said finally. I'm going to ask her to terminate the pregnancy. I looked at him. His face was young, but his eyes held a weariness that didn't belong there. Maybe it was because I no longer loved Chloe, but he didn't seem as smug and unpleasant as I remembered. I considered his words. You could keep the baby if you wanted to. I'm divorcing her anyway. You could have a family with her. I wasn't trying to be sarcastic. If he had already gone so far as to interfere in my marriage, he might as well get what he wanted out of it. And it would give Chloe a reason to finally leave me alone. But as I thought this, Leo gave a bitter laugh. Team Lead Miller, I don't think you're going to be able to divorce her. I frowned. What do you mean? She's been talking to lawyers, trying to find out if she can block the divorce by refusing to sign. She's spoken to several high-profile attorneys, and they all told her the same thing. She can refuse to sign, and your agreement is worthless. And even with proof that the baby isn't yours, if you sue for divorce, a judge is unlikely to grant it. My frown deepened. I didn't understand why Leo was telling me this, but the words unlikely to grant it sent a chill down my spine. Was I going to be stuck with Chloe for the rest of my life? The thought made me shudder. Leo looked at me, his eyes full of regret. I'm sorry, Team Lead Miller. I honestly thought you two were in a loveless marriage. I never saw any sign that she actually cared for you. But now I see the truth. I was just a pawn to her, a tool to make you jealous. He gave a bitter laugh. I know what I did was despicable, but Director Davis, She was the most powerful and successful person I'd ever met. I thought you two weren't in love, so I took a chance, hoping to build a better future for myself. But I lost completely, and I am truly sorry. Looking at his miserable face, I suddenly remembered him when he first started at the company. He was so young and energetic then, always eager to learn, always shadowing the senior engineers. When had he changed? Was it the first time Chloe took him to a high society gala? The first time she bought him an expensive gift? I didn't know. I just said coolly, you were never going to win. The moment you stake your entire future on another person, you're doomed to fail. I don't feel sorry for what's happening to you now. You brought this on yourself. But I do thank you. You helped me see Chloe for who she really is. If it weren't for you, I might never have gotten out of that toxic situation. What you do now is up to you. I called the waiter over, paid the bill, and left. Leo didn't try to stop me. He just sat there, his head bowed, his hair hiding his expression. As I was getting into my car, I glanced back and saw his face buried in his hands, his shoulders shaking. For some reason, my own mood suddenly felt heavy. When I got back to the office and parked, I saw Chloe getting out of her car, holding a thermos. Our eyes met. She looked surprised for a second, then a smile spread across her face. She walked over to me, her voice soft. Ethan, it's your favorite chicken noodle soup. I let it simmer for hours. As she held the thermos out to me, the image of Leo's heartbroken face flashed in my mind. I don't know where the anger came from, but I shoved the thermos away. I don't want it, I said, my voice cold. Chloe, you're the one who's in the wrong here. How can you just stand there and act like nothing has happened? You want my forgiveness? Have you given a single thought to Leo? What right do you have? My anger seemed to startle her. The smile vanished from her face. Ethan, I know I was wrong, but I'm trying to make it up to you now. Stop bringing up Leo. He has nothing to do with us. From now on, it will just be us. I saw the impatience in her eyes, and a chill went through me. The comments started again. She still doesn't get it. She thinks she can just waltz back in and he'll forgive her. So it's okay for her to cheat, but he gets a bouquet of flowers and she loses her mind? What a hypocrite. Am I the only one who feels bad for Leo? He got played and ended up with nothing but a broken heart. That last comment struck a chord. All of this pain, mine and Leo's, it was all because of her. If she had ever truly cared about me, she wouldn't have treated me so coldly. If she had ever truly cared about Leo, she would have taken responsibility for her actions. But here she was, offering me a half-hearted apology while treating him with contempt. What gave her the right to play with both of our lives so carelessly? When I didn't say anything, Chloe pushed the thermos into my hands. Be a good boy and drink it, she said. The next thing I knew, I had thrown the thermos as hard as I could. It hit the pavement with a loud clang, the soup spilling everywhere. I looked at Chloe's shocked face, my voice like ice. How much do I owe you for the thermos and the soup? I'll Venmo you. Just stop bothering me. A flush of anger crept up her neck. She clenched her fists, her voice shaking with rage. Ethan, you're insulting me. And you're not insulting me? I shot back. Coming here, pestering me, expecting me to just forgive your betrayal? She was speechless. As I turned to leave, she stepped in front of me, her eyes finally softening. Ethan, I was wrong. Please believe me. I can't live without you. I promise. Nothing like this will ever happen again. The comments danced in my vision. She's finally admitting her true feelings. Too bad it's after he's completely fallen out of love with her. I've been waiting for her to say this, but now that she has, I don't feel anything. He doesn't need her anymore. I walked right past Chloe without another word. Back in the office, the anger was still simmering inside me when Sophia appeared with a smile. Ethan, I brought you a sandwich. You should try it, it's really good. I looked at her, my voice flat. I didn't get a chance to eat lunch. How much do I owe you? I'll send it to you. Sophia just smiled. Don't be silly, it's on me. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She must have sensed my mood, because her smile faded a little, but she persisted. Ethan, really, it's nothing. I nodded, turned, and sat down at my desk, pushing the sandwich to the side. Sophia looked like she wanted to say something else, but I was already staring intently at my computer screen. She sighed and went back to her desk. The sandwich sat there, untouched, until the end of the day. I hadn't eaten all day, and by the time I left the office, I was feeling lightheaded. I got in my car and fumbled in the glove compartment for a piece of candy, which helped with the dizziness a little. I suddenly remembered how, no matter how busy she was, Chloe had always made sure I ate 3 meals a day. I shook my head, cursing myself. I must be starving to be thinking about her. The woman I had once put on a pedestal was gone, replaced by the bitter regret of loving the wrong person, and the sickening feeling of having trusted someone so completely unworthy. Just as I started the car, a new iMessage popped up on my phone. It was from Leo. Team Lead Miller, I've resigned. Thank you for helping me see the light. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I read the message but didn't reply, just set my phone aside. But the heavy weight in my chest felt a little lighter. I gripped the steering wheel, let out a long breath, and gave a small, self-deprecating laugh. Still too soft-hearted. With that, I drove back to my apartment. I made some dinner and was relaxing on the sofa. It was almost 8 o'clock when Ben called. Ethan, I got it. The baby is Leo's. It's confirmed. I listened to him rant and couldn't help but smile a little. I know, but Leo is going to ask her to terminate the pregnancy. Ben was stunned into silence for a moment. Is he insane? I thought he was going to use the baby to trap her. I filled him in on everything that had happened over the last few days. When I was done, Ben was quiet. Is it true what Leo said? I asked, a knot of anxiety in my stomach. That I can't get a divorce if she refuses to agree? Ben scoffed. Let her try. I have ways of dealing with people like her. The adultery alone is enough to get her fired. I have a friend who can get into your company's internal servers. One anonymous post about her conduct, and she'll be singing a different tune. No, this won't do. I'm flying to Berlin. We're getting this divorce finalized now. Before I could protest, he hung up. I thought about it. It was true. Since I'd given her the papers, there had been no progress at all. If she just kept stalling, it could cause real problems for me. I opened my laptop and submitted a request for a personal day. Knowing Ben, he'd be on the next flight out. I'd have to go pick him up from the airport. I sent Ben a quick iMessage telling him I'd taken the day off and to send me his flight info. Then I went to bed. When I woke up, there was a message from him on my phone. Landing at 11 p.m. I thought for a moment, then decided to FaceTime my parents. They picked up right away. The first thing my mom said was, "You've lost weight." Hearing her voice, some of my anxiety melted away. "No, I haven't, I lied. I think I've actually gained a few pounds." She laughed. "I don't believe that for a second. When you come home, I'm going to fatten you up." I took a deep breath and said what I needed to say. "Mom, my friend is flying in today. He's going to help me with the divorce." Her smile vanished. My dad, who had been quiet in the background, shifted uncomfortably. My heart sank. "You don't want me to divorce her?" I asked. "No, honey, that's not it," my mom said quickly. "It's just, you're so far away. We can't be there to help you through this." My eyes started to sting. "I'm sorry. I'm a grown man. You shouldn't have to be worrying about me." I took a deep breath. "As soon as the divorce is finalized, I'll use my vacation time to come home for a visit." My mom nodded eagerly. My dad finally spoke up. "Ethan, if you're having a hard time over there, you need to tell us. If that woman has betrayed you, I'll fly over there myself." Our families didn't live that far apart, only about an hour and a half's drive. Our parents had visited each other often over the years, though it was usually my parents making the trip to see her family. Now I realized they had only made all those trips for my sake. Chloe had always hated visiting relatives, so she rarely came to my parents' house. Sometimes I'd give in and stay with her, sometimes I'd go home alone. Eventually, it got to the point where my parents had to come visit us on holidays, just so they could see me. Thinking about it now made my eyes burn. "Honey, are you crying?" my mom asked, her voice full of concern. I blinked back the tears. "No," I said, my voice thick. "I was just thinking that I'll finally be able to spend a proper Christmas with you guys again." My mom and dad exchanged a look, then smiled. "Yes," my mom said, "our boy is finally coming home." After we hung up, I felt a sense of peace. Divorcing Chloe was the right thing to do. There was no downside. I was lying on the sofa, staring out the window, when the comments flickered to life again. "Well, I guess the show's over. The main characters are officially splitting up." Wait, I thought they were supposed to end up together? This doesn't make sense. This is a terrible ending. What's the point of the story if he doesn't want her anymore? A show? I found myself speaking out loud. If my life is a show, then who's the one directing it? The text in front of me froze. Just as I was wondering what was happening, the text exploded into a frenzy of activity. "Wait, can he hear us? Is this a bug in the system? Admin, get in here. I think the main character can hear us. Bro, look at me. I was always on your side. I wanted you to divorce her." Staring at the frantic messages, a strange idea began to form in my mind. Could I talk to them? I tried. "Who are you?" I asked the empty room. The text instantly went wild. "He can hear us. He can really hear us. You have to follow your own path. Don't let the plot control you. He's supposed to end up with her. It's his destiny. She's a great character. He's the one who's being ungrateful." From the chaotic flurry of messages, I began to understand. They were people from some other dimension watching my life. To them, Chloe, everyone I knew, we were all just characters in a story, following a script, heading toward a predetermined ending. And my role, apparently, was to forgive Chloe after she had sufficiently groveled. And then we would live happily ever after. I scowled. Me? Forgive Chloe? Not in a million years. Just as I was about to say something else, the text in front of me dissolved into a string of garbled characters and then vanished. It was replaced by a single line of text that looked like a system error message. System alert, program error detected. Initiating repair sequence. Warning to all viewers. This is not a fictional narrative. This is a parallel reality. The individuals within are real, sentient beings. Ethan Miller is merely the protagonist, from your perspective. You have no ability to influence his actions. His life is his own to control. Due to a system error resulting in a cross-dimensional breach, the subject, Ethan Miller, will be compensated. Repairing fault. As the final ellipses faded, the text disappeared completely. I tried speaking again. Is anyone there? I stared at the space where the comments used to be, but it remained empty. The constant companions in my head were gone. I felt a strange sense of emptiness. I thought back on all their comments. Most of them had been on Chloe's side, but there had been a few who were always rooting for me. I was actually going to miss them. I sat on the sofa, feeling a little lost, and it took me a while to snap out of it. Well, if they were gone, they were gone. They had appeared out of nowhere, and now they had vanished just as quickly. But that last message, that part one liked. My life was my own to control. Thinking that, the last of the gloom in my heart lifted. I spent the evening cleaning my apartment, and at 9:30, I left for the airport. The highway was open, the city lights were bright, and with the cool night air blowing in through the window, I felt better than I had in a long time. While I was waiting for Ben at the airport, I suddenly remembered something. That system message had mentioned compensation. What was that supposed to be? Just as I was wondering, I heard Ben's voice behind me. Ethan. I turned to see him striding toward me, pulling a rolling suitcase. You are not going to believe what's been happening with the Davis family while I was on the plane, he said excitedly. I was so tired of hearing anything related to Chloe, I could barely muster any interest. But Ben barreled on. Somehow, Chloe's mother found out she was pregnant, and she was thrilled. She called Chloe and insisted that she had to keep the baby, Leo's baby. I heard she threw a massive fit, crying, screaming, the whole 9 yards. I don't know what Chloe said to calm her down. I had to laugh. Knowing my former mother-in-law's personality, what else could Chloe do? She must have promised to keep the baby just to get her off her back. And as for Leo, if he thought the baby was his ticket to a better life, he'd go along with it. But none of that was my problem anymore. I took Ben's suitcase from him. Come on, let's get you back to my place. On the drive back from the airport, my phone rang. It was Chloe. Ethan, she said, we need to find some time to talk tomorrow. I raised an eyebrow. So this was my compensation, a reward I was more than happy to accept. After his long flight, Ben was exhausted. He showered and immediately crashed, but not before telling me, wake me up tomorrow. I'm coming with you to deal with Chloe. Looking at his sleepy face, I felt a warmth spread through my chest and nodded. The next morning, I brought Ben with me to the office. I cleared it with HR and let him wait for me in the employee lounge. As I walked into the main office area, I could hear Chloe on the phone in the hallway. Who else would have told my mother I was pregnant? You disgust me, Leo. You're the one who got me drunk that night. I would never have. Her words cut off the moment she saw me. She quickly hung up the phone and walked toward me. It's the middle of the workday, I said coolly. Whatever you have to say can wait until lunch. Seeing that I wasn't going to engage, Chloe had no choice but to back down. But I could tell her mother's interference was taking a toll on her. The dark circles under her eyes were a dead giveaway. When I got to my desk, I saw a small bouquet of 3 sunflowers, their stems intertwined, looking bright and alive. I glanced over at Sophia and met her eyes. This time, she smiled openly. Ethan, do you like them? I looked at her for a moment, then nodded. They're very nice. They'd be even nicer if they were from someone I was interested in. My words made her smile vanish. Even if she was young, between the sandwich and now the flowers, she had to understand. I wasn't interested. An heiress like her might have a fleeting crush, but that's all it could be. I don't believe in love at first sight, and I had no desire to jump into a new relationship so soon after the last one ended. Sophia stared at me for a long time. I thought I saw her eyes glistening before she finally said, I understand, Ethan. After saying that, she turned back to her computer, and I couldn't see her expression anymore. When I logged on to my own computer, there was an iMessage from her waiting. I'm sorry, I hope my crush on you hasn't caused you any problems. I thought about it for a moment, but decided not to reply. Some things were better left unsaid. The morning passed slowly. At noon, Chloe was waiting for me in the hallway. "Let's go," she said. I didn't move. I sent a quick iMessage to Ben, then said, "I'm waiting for someone." Chloe frowned but didn't say anything. When Ben walked up a minute later, her expression soured. "Ethan, this is a private matter between us. Why is he here?" "He's my divorce lawyer," I said calmly. Chloe was speechless. After a long moment, she gave a bitter laugh. "So you never gave up, not for a second." "Let me correct you," I said. "It was over the moment I gave you those papers. You're the one who refused to let go." My blunt words made her face pale. She turned and walked away. Soon, we were all seated in a private room at a quiet Chinese restaurant. She watched as Ben expertly laid out the legal documents on the table. "You don't need those," she said, her voice flat. "I'll agree to the divorce. The apartment is in my name, but as compensation, I'm willing to give you a larger share of our other assets." She looked at me and took a deep breath. "Believe it or not, the baby was an accident. Leo got me drunk. I was completely out of it." I stared at her for a long moment. "Chloe," I said quietly, "you were drunk. You weren't unconscious." Seeing the stunned look on her face, I pushed the papers Ben had prepared across the table. "Sign them. After this, we're done." She was silent for a long time before she finally picked up the pen and signed her name. When she was done, I signed my own name on the line below hers. As I lifted the pen, I heard her say, her voice hoarse, "I guess this is the last time our names will ever be on the same page." I closed the folder. "Don't be so dramatic," I said. Then I stood up, and Ben and I walked out of the restaurant. The thought of having one last goodbye meal with her was more than I could stomach. Walking out of the restaurant, I couldn't believe it was over. I had expected a long, drawn-out battle, not this easy surrender. I clutched the signed papers. Chloe had always been close to her mother. She would never go against her wishes. Her mother had never liked me, but for the first time I was genuinely grateful to her. After signing the papers, Chloe flew back to the States immediately. She wasn't in the office the next day. Her month-long assignment was almost over anyway. I didn't give it much thought and just focused on my work. 3 months flew by. In that time, Sophia seemed to have moved on from her crush, and we settled into a comfortable, professional friendship. Jake started dating a blonde, blue-eyed German girl and was disgustingly happy. My official divorce decree arrived in the mail from the States. And, thanks to my hard work, I was officially promoted to general manager of the Berlin office, with a salary 4 times what I had been making as an engineer. I was very happy with my new life. One day, a PowerPoint presentation appeared in the company-wide group chat. The title was, "On the Subject of a Certain Female Executive's Misconduct." Curious, I clicked on it. The first slide was a screenshot of a chat log. The participants were Chloe and Leo. Somehow, their entire explicit chat history had been leaked. My name had been redacted, and in the messages where she had lied to me about being at work events when she was actually with him, my profile picture had been blurred out. Even though my name wasn't mentioned, everyone in the Berlin office knew I had been married to her. The pitying looks they were giving me were making me uncomfortable. Suddenly, Jake spoke up, his voice full of indignation. "Why is everyone staring at our manager? We should be condemning the person who actually did something wrong." People quickly looked away. I shot Jake a grateful look, but inside, I felt nothing. A leak like this wouldn't be contained to just our company. I did a quick search online. Sure enough, it was already all over the news. The company moved swiftly. An official statement was posted on the corporate website announcing Chloe's termination, stating that the company would not tolerate employees who demonstrated such a grievous lack of personal integrity. I was surprised. Engineers with her skill set were hard to come by. I couldn't help myself. I sent an iMessage to Sophia, asking what had happened. She replied almost immediately, "Remember that feasibility study Chloe was here for? The board went with her recommendation, and the company ended up losing a ton of money. The board was already unhappy with her about that. And the presentation? That was Leo. He said that since she had ruined his life, he was going to ruin hers too. Between the financial loss and the scandal, the board decided she was a liability they couldn't afford." Pursed my lips. What could Chloe have done in 3 months to make Leo hate her that much? The thought was fleeting. It wasn't my business anymore. Another 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. The Berlin office was finally stable, and I had earned a long vacation. I eagerly packed my bags and flew home. My parents were waiting for me at the airport, and we all drove home together, happy and laughing. At our last rest stop before home, I saw her again, Chloe. Leo was standing nearby, glaring at her. Stop looking so miserable, he snapped. You're upsetting the kid. Chloe, holding a small child in her arms, said tiredly. That's enough, Leo. I don't want to fight. Leo laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. You want to give your son a happy childhood? Do you even think you're capable of that? You only married me because of him, because your mother backed you into a corner. You're pathetic, Chloe. I didn't know what had happened to make Leo so bitter, or why Chloe was putting up with it. All I knew was that it had nothing to do with me. My parents, returning with coffee, saw the scene and then looked at me with worried eyes. I just smiled at them, a genuine, carefree smile. Mom, Dad, what are you waiting for? Let's go home. Chloe and I were two parallel lines, destined never to cross again. From now on, I was living for myself,